Howdy and welcome. Today I'm going to show you how I finally got rid of this eyesore and built myself a kayak / canoe rack. To get started, I grabbed 2 pressure treated 4x4s and 14 2x4s and 2 corrugated metal roofing sheets, and then got to cutting them per my plans. If you're wanting to build one for yourself, I have full set of plans available on my website. Step 1 is to assemble the base or the side pieces, and I'm doing this using 3-inch exterior rated wood screws. I attach the side supports to the 4x4 post to give it a wider foot base and make it more sturdy once it's all put together. And then do the same thing on the other side, just a little bit faster. Then to connect the 2 bases or side pieces, I added 2x4s across the front and the back to give it that big, nice, sturdy foot base. And I connected those using 2.5-inch wood screws or 3-inch going into the 4x4 posts. For the screws, I'm using Simpson Strong Tie's exterior wood framing screws. I really like these. They have a quick guard coating on them that makes them last a really long time, and they also countersink really nice and easy. Now with the base assembled, it's time to attach the first support arm. And for this, I'm going to be using Simpson Strong Tie's RTR or a rigid tie rail connector and a hex head connector screws to attach it to the back 4x4 posts. So you can see me here, I'm just attaching the hardware to the 2x4 support arm, and then we're going to go attach that to the base itself. Once I find level, I'll go ahead and screw in the front of the arm support into that 4x4 post to attach it there. And then on the back, we're going to use those hex head screws to attach the connector to the 4x4 post. The connector is just a really strong connection, and you don't have to drill all the way through the 4x4 post. A cool thing about using these Simpson Strong Tie connectors is you can get them powder coated in black, or they come standard in a galvanized finish, great for exterior use. Now for the second row of support arms. I'm just measuring up about 18.5 inches, but that's going to depend on how big your canoe or kayak or whatever you're putting in there is going to be. And to install these, I'm using different hardware because these are going to be cantilevered, so we need a little extra support on them. For the bottom, I'm going to be using Simpson Strong Tie's shelf bracket on the bottom, and then on the top, we're going to be using Simpson Strong Tie's RTA, a rigid tie angle connectors. The key with using all these connectors is just make sure you're using the appropriate screws that are adjacent to them, and make sure you fill every single screw hole that are on the bracket. And then once you got that on there, it comes out very sturdy. This time of year, we were having some visitors in the pool, and Oscar was regulating for me. Here's another look at the hardware once it's installed. And on the shelf bracket, I did use some 3-inch screws in a couple of the holes into the 4x4 post just for some added security, but other than that, the rest are just 1.5-inch screws. Now let's test it out and see if it holds. And as you can see, this kayak is not light. It's a lot heavier than I remember, so it took me a second to put it up there. And she holds, yay! I'll actually be storing those most likely upside down, just so, as you can see, the leaves won't get stuck in the top like they have been right now, and normal water and everything will just shed off of it. All right, here's another look at the hardware that I used. I used the shelf brackets on the bottom and then the rigid tie angle connectors on the top, 2 of them, one on each side of the board. And if you want a full list of all the materials, the cut list, everything I used, I have those available on my website. Next, it was time to add some support to the whole frame so it takes any wobble or anything out of it. Here you can see me using some clamps as an extra set of hands to hold up the 2x4 until I can get it in place, and then I'm securing that with more of those 2.5-inch exterior wood screws. Then I'm adding a piece across the back that's going to add more support and also be part of the roof. To frame the roof, I went ahead and tipped it down on its side. I just thought it would be easier that way instead of clamping everything into place to get it all level and straight and square. So once I got those in place, just attach those with screws, making sure that I had 3 or 4 screws in there just to hold it nice and tight in place. There wouldn't be any twisting to it. Once I had those on there, I went ahead and stood it back up. Secured the front of the roofing frame. Once that was secure, I went ahead and put in some back support braces. This is just going to make it more sturdy, and it's also going to help support the roof, as you'll see here in a second. The back supports didn't go all the way to the top of the frame. That way I could put in these roof supports. They could sit on top of it. And then I'm going to screw those in from the front, the back, and the top to make sure they're in there. I also added a couple of the rigid tie angle connectors there just for extra support. And then the last part of framing was to add a 2x4 to the front row. Once we add the roof on, this just creates the slope so that the water will shed off the back of the frame. Then I got to bust out my favorite cordless sprayer and sprayed everything down in black. And then for the corrugated roofing sheets, I used a special saw blade on my circular saw that was able to cut right through those. And then I cut them to size with a little bit of like a 2-inch overhang on all sides. And then I attached the panels using some metal roofing screws that have washers on them. And once the roofing panels were installed, I had myself a brand new kayak / canoe rack. What do you guys think? I'm so happy that these guys have their own home and off my patio. Thanks for watching. Remember to build loud, build wild, and have an awesome day.